Hey, so in this video, I want to talk about a YouTube influencer that I found about 4 years ago by the name of Meetkevin. Now, back then, most of his YouTube channel was about real estate and real estate investing, which really grabbed my attention. I had just read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and of course, like everybody else, I got hooked. Now, Meetkevin's videos were unique in that he talked about concepts that I had never heard of before. Kevin would only buy property if it was what he would call a wedge deal. And all that is a wedge deal. It's like a fancy term for buying a property below its market value. For example, the property might be worth $500,000 when it's all fixed up. You'd be looking to buy it for maybe $350,000, putting $50,000 into the property, and suddenly you've created net worth increase of $100,000. Now, it was this video specifically that really piqued my interest.
At least $125,000 under market value. That way, when I fix it up, I get at least a boost to my net worth of like $100,000 to sometimes $120,000 or more. For example, I just opened escrow on a deal for $450,000 that I expect to be worth over $625,000 after I spend maybe $35,000 on the deal. That extra money, because I didn't touch it, is now not taxed, boosts my net worth, and insulates me from movements in the marketplace. Over 12 deals, that's over $1.2 million of bonus and net worth, doing nothing, just applying a little bit of knowledge.
Now, after watching this video and dozens of other ones, I actually decided to dive in. Kevin actually sells an investing course on landlording and investing, and I decided to purchase it. It's probably about $400 or $500, and at the time it was a pretty good sized investment, but I decided to jump in. Now, I'm not going to lie, when it comes to the method of purchasing rental properties, Kevin does a decent job, but if you don't have YouTube money making $100,000 every month like he does, you're going to have to get a little bit more creative. So at the very end of this video, I'll give you a couple of resources that I've used to learn how to buy property when you don't have Meetkevin type of money. Now, I'm in the Las Vegas market, and here I found that the best free resource to use to analyze property is Redfin. When I'm looking for property, I have a saved search that continually sends me potential properties that I analyze and decide whether or not they might be a good investment. Now, here's a look at a property that I was sent earlier this week. You can see it's a listing at $380,000. It's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, just under 2,000 square foot house in North Las Vegas. Now, I typically don't look in North Las Vegas, but I like to keep my options open because you just never know what you're going to find. And in actuality, the last property we bought was actually in North Las Vegas. Go figure. Now, here's the key with this property. If you look at the description, it says big 4-bedroom fixer in North Las Vegas. And that's really the key. When a listing agent puts words like fixer-upper, TLC, cash only, handyman special, these are typically real estate code words for discount. Yeah, that's right. So when they're really saying is that this property is going to be sold below market value because it needs some work. When you build your search, you want to create searches that include these keywords in the description. And Redfin is a great source for doing that. Now, understanding if it is good enough of a discount is your job. The way you figure that out is by really studying your market, looking at similarly priced homes that have sold in that same area within the last 3 to 6 months, hopefully even a similar model to that home. Now, if this particular property if there were other comps that were selling for $480,000 just based on what I saw, this might be a really good opportunity. But ultimately, this was one we decided to pass on because the numbers just didn't make sense. But imagine doing this 3 or 4 times a week. Every time a house comes on the market that meets your search criteria. It won't take very long before you really get a good understanding of the properties and what they are selling for in specific areas and what you can buy them for to actually make a profit. So let's dive into our actual deals and see what the numbers look like for the ones we purchased. Using Redfin, here's a look at the first property we bought in July of 2020. You can see our purchase price was $170,000, and you can see at the time the house was probably valued at $240,000. The difference between our purchase price and the value is what Kevin's talking about as the wedge. Real estate prices have obviously increased dramatically, but even with that increase, that's a $70,000 increase to our net worth just buying below market value. If we fast forward to today, this house is worth $330,000 just because of appreciation. The next house we bought, we actually broke our own rule and didn't get a discount. This was 2021. And after making dozens of offers, we just weren't getting anywhere. So we decided to switch our strategy and we bought a house that we saw that we had a great opportunity to really dramatically increase the cash flow. Now, I've talked about this in one of my other videos. We turned it into a room rental, but even still, appreciation has been nice on this house. We bought it at $536,000. If you look at today's value, it's closer to $590,000 to $600,000 in just a few years. Doing a couple of small time renovations, we built up quite a bit of confidence and decided to go bigger. So the next purchase we bought was this 2-bedroom townhouse slash duplex where they own each individual side. It's in the heart of Las Vegas and we bought it for $190,000. This one needed a lot more work than any of the other ones we did. There was actually a guy being evicted. We're pretty sure he was dealing meth out of the house, which is a whole nother story. But because of the damage to the house, we ended up spending about $30,000 to fix this up. Now, this is in an area where the house prices fluctuate a lot, but it is a side-by-side duplex where each side is individually owned, like I mentioned, and the house right next to ours, so the attached house, sold for $300,000 just recently. Next up is a house we purchased in Green Valley. For those who don't know Las Vegas, Green Valley is a beautiful area, and typically a little bit more expensive than most other areas in Vegas. On this next deal, I honestly don't have a great explanation on how we got such a good deal because this house almost needed no work. But it does go to show that sometimes it's not just a lot of work that needs to be done at the house, but you can get a great deal because people need to sell quickly. And if you're in the right place at the right time, you can get a great deal. So this property we bought in February of 2023 for $278,000. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and honestly, we needed like carpet in just one area and paint in another area, and that is it. When the opportunity came up, I went to the house immediately and got it under contract within about 20 or 30 minutes. I actually told my wife we were buying this house before she had ever even seen it. And thank God she was on board. Well, as you can see, this property is worth quite a bit more. We actually got it appraised the very next month after closing, and appraisal came back at $390,000. We've owned it now for about a year and a half. The value probably is closer to $400,000, $450,000 now, just based on some of the comps we've seen. Next up is a house we bought from a lady that I actually met on Facebook, believe it or not. She was in a pinch and needed to sell her house quickly, and the house needed a pretty good amount of work. But it wasn't as big as some of the other houses, so it didn't take as much capital. But we bought the house for $206,500. We put about $22,000 into the house, and it's now worth just under $300,000. Last and probably least, actually, is the property we purchased in North Las Vegas about a month ago. This is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, which I personally don't love condos. This is closer to a townhome though, but it was still a pretty interesting opportunity. I was able to buy this house subject to the existing loan. For those who don't know, that just means I paid the owner and took over her mortgage. So the mortgage actually stayed in her name. Already have this house rented out to someone who's on a rent-to-own contract, and they're looking to purchase the house from us in the next 2 years. We already set the purchase price, and we should make a pretty healthy profit, while making pretty good cash flow, about $500 or $600 a month in the meantime. So we bought this house for $122,325, and it's currently worth about $148,000 to $160,000, just depending on the condition. But the beautiful thing about buying it the way that we did is we did no renovations at all. The lady actually took it over and did it herself. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to create a future video that talks specifically about how we were able to find money to purchase these properties, because we definitely didn't have it when we started. But as promised, if you don't want to wait for that video, here's what you're going to want to do to get going. First, you're going to want to download Audible, which is simply a great app for being able to download and listen to books. At this point, I've probably listened to 100 different books on real estate, but the 3 that I'm going to recommend here are really all you need. The first one is Building Wealth One House at a Time, which is a phenomenal book written by John Schaub. That honestly details every part of real estate investing that you need to know. The next one is the book on investing in real estate with no and low money down, written by Brandon Turner. This book does exactly what it tells you. It explains the process being able to buy property without having a lot of money. And last is Finding and Funding Great Deals by Anson Young. This book is really like the Bible for real estate flippers. And even though I'm not a flipper, I found that being able to buy property like a flipper is exactly what helps you learn how to get great discounts. Now, with 3 kids and a full-time job, I didn't have a lot of time to sit and read, so I found listening to books on tape during my commute to work and at the gym was the best way for me to get through these books. And if you're in a real hurry, you can listen to them at 1.5 to 2 times speed. But just realize they are packed full of information, so you'll probably have to read them more than once. Thanks everybody for watching this video. Hopefully you found some value. Like and subscribe, send it to a friend, and I'll see you on the next one.